Hey everyone, today on C&G Performance we give my 2010 Challenger some much needed TLC.
It was long overdue. Please tell me that was a good take, please.
This is Saphira, my 2010 Dodge Challenger SRT8. I bought her used in 2013 with just over 16,000 miles. She sports a 6.1-liter Hemi backed by a Tremec 6-speed manual transmission. A few months after I bought her, I got orders to Germany and I decided to take her with me. Driving on the Autobahn was really fun, but by the time we moved back to the States, some of the gears in the transmission were grinding and the clutch was ready to be replaced. In 2018, we pulled the transmission and sent it off to Tick Performance in North Carolina for a rebuild. We also installed a new center force clutch, Barton shifter, and pistol grip shifter handle from Mr. Norm's. But then, in 2019, tragedy ensued, and my beautiful Saphira got a huge scratch down the driver's side door. So, we enlisted the help of AP Body Shop in Abilene, Texas, to help take care of the more noticeable scratches, holes, and dings.
So it's Saturday, the 19th?
Yes.
Where are we going?
To AP Body Shop.
AP Body Shop. I'm gonna go talk to Andrew. He texted her yesterday,
Yes.
saying that she had some dents and stuff in the car that we didn't even know about. So we're headed over there, we're gonna check out the car, see what kind of progress he's made. I wonder if he's painted the other hood yet.
I don't know. Maybe. Hopefully.
It'd be awesome if he did.
I'd like to see it.
I would love to see that hood already painted and ready to go in the car. Hopefully see that a whole lot of progress has been made. Maybe he's got the holes in the bumper full already, which would be awesome. As soon as this local police officer gets out of our way, maybe we can make more progress.
When we arrived, the car was prepped and ready for paint. The front bumper had been removed so Andrew could fill in the holes left behind by the German license plate, and he removed the side mirrors to touch up some rubbing that had happened on those as well. Andrew teased us with some progress pics, and we were blown away a couple weeks later when we went to pick her up.
It looks so good. So we've had my car, my 2010 Dodge Challenger, with Andrew. He owns a body shop in town called AP Body Shop, and I had a couple of scratches on the car, from other people just, door dinging me or running up against my paint, whatever. And then I also had him do a new hood for me. I bought this TA hood. It's reminiscent of the old TA for the older 70s Challengers and stuff, and I really wanted it on my car because I think that they look so good, and I didn't like my stock hood because I just had just a regular newer Challenger stock hood. So he's had it for I don't know about 2 weeks, and we just went to go pick it up. I am so happy. This thing looks amazing. You can't even tell that it had scratches or anything on it, and the hood looks awesome. We did it in like a matte black, the whole hood, so it looks just like how most of them did it back in the 70s, and it just looks amazing. Like, I'm super excited, and I've got this scoop sticking up at me as I'm driving, and it's amazing. I love it. And he even kind of cleaned it up for me a bit, you know, because he said, you know, with all the stuff, the sanding and the painting that he'd be doing, he'd probably get some dirt inside and whatnot. So he, you know, cleaned out the inside, cleaned the car up enough on the outside. Since it's fresh, since there's like fresh paint and stuff, can't really get it clean, do like any washing or anything till after tomorrow to let everything just harden, which is fine because I just love how it looks anyway. I don't necessarily need to go detail it right now. I'm just super stoked of how it looks because it's beautiful.
Now that Saphira is squared away, mechanically and cosmetically, it's time to address a growing problem we've had with our instrument cluster.
So one of the last things we needed to do to the car was probably one of the first things we should have done. And this is a problem that we started noticing, I don't know, I'd say sometime late 2014, early 15 maybe. Car wasn't very old. We started noticing this problem in Germany, and it's only gotten worse. And any of you guys in the modern Mopar world probably know what I'm talking about. And that is, you get in the car and you turn and you look and you got your pretty instrument cluster. However, when you turn the lights on, you don't get a lot of backlighting. And it's been a long time since the light behind the fuel cage ever worked at all. The illumination behind the speedometer and the tach work periodically in different patterns and different shapes. And unlike a lot of our old classic Mopars, like Cass the 72 here, where the instrument cluster, it's kind of hard to see in the dark, but in the older days, you had the little tiny 194 bulbs, or in some cases, like I know with the GM pickups, like our two Duramaxes, you've actually got a motherboard, little tiny little LEDs that are soldered to the board. So when a light dies, in the case of the old Mopars, you pull an old one out, put a new one in, keep on trucking. In the case of the tow rigs, well, you got to take the cluster apart, unsolder a bulb, solder in a new one, you're good to go. However, in the case of these newer Mopars, they use what's known as an luminescent panel, or an EL panel for short. We are going to replace it. And not only are we going to replace the EL panel, we're going to make a few upgrades while we're in there. This is the one for a 2008 to, I believe, 2012 Dodge Challenger. And they're all the same from the SXT to the RT to the SRT8, which is what we have here. There's tons of videos on YouTube. I'll put a link to one below that we watched when we first wanted to start learning about what all was entailed in terms of replacing the EL panel. Quick note to those who may be looking to do this to their Dodge Charger, Challenger, or Chrysler 300. Be sure when you park the vehicle that you park it in a spot where it can be for a while, because as soon as you unplug the gauge cluster from the harness, the vehicle won't start and none of the car's electrical accessories will function. So, move this operation inside where it's not 100 degrees. I need a T15 Torx bit, which I think is what I have. Just the perimeter screws remove the backing plate off the cluster. And then as if by magic, ta-da. One thing you gotta remember is to be super, super careful with the lens. Supposedly it'll scratch really easily, and when you get it back in the car, it'll drive you insane. Which we got bigger plans for this coming up later, but for now, we're gonna focus on this. We sneak that under the temperature gauge needle, rotate counterclock, and just gently pry up. The same with the other three. And now I'm going to use the pry tool as a little bit of a lever, if you will, and just kind of slide it around between the body of the cluster and the gauge faces. It is a little bit, there's a little bit of a lip right there. So be careful for that if you guys are doing this at home. Now we can see why our EL panel hasn't worked in quite a while. Looks like there's a good crack going right through there, and then another one over here where it looks like it breaks contact in the power circuit. You can barely see it. I'm not even sure if you can get it on, if I can get it on camera, but you can barely see where it kind of breaks through that bright silver line right there. And then it does the same thing on the other side. So that kind of explains why these are the only two that were working, but that's okay because we have a replacement. We will remove more screws. There we go, 6 more screws, and then the back of the cluster can come off, which will reveal the board, and it also reveals the plug for the EL panel. So from the looks of it, we need to press in very, very gently, right there, and then pull. And now the EL panel is unplugged. Turn it back over, and we should be able to just lift the EL panel straight out. I don't know if you can see this or not. Around each of these there's this little lip. For the step motor locations, there's a little lip that goes around each one of them. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, you can tell this EL panel is brittle. See it cracked there coming off. It's already broke there. It's out. It's gone. We got a replacement. So let's get to it. 2 weeks ago, we tried to rebuild the cluster on this Challenger. And we were showing you that EL panel that we had gotten from that company in Germany. Well, we learned a few things. Number one, that EL panel is very, very thick. Number two, the ribbon tape right there that connects back to the motherboard and powers it was either very brittle from sitting for so long, or it was just brittle from manufacturing. I'm not sure which. Because as soon as we got the cluster rebuilt and put back in the car, we got no light. And the first time I pulled the cluster back apart to look at it, I noticed there were some breaks, like some separation in the flat panel wire that powers the EL panel. But in either case, we went out and bought another cluster out of a donor car. We just spent the last few minutes pulling this cluster apart, take the EL panel out of it, and now Cassandra's in the process of trying to install that EL panel and isn't having the best luck.
Well, I don't want to press on it too hard.
Right.
To put it.
You just want to tape it down? So this is what we got. Took the outer bezel out, sprayed it with some flat black. Looks amazing. And when you lay it over the classic gauges, you definitely get that 70s feel. Looks amazing. I can't wait. So, I think here in a second, Cass is going to lay some glue back in these trenches. Just a few dibs of dabs and...
You started this whole process, though.
I did. And
I figure on these two...
Yeah, just light little touches.
Because I think that's where the glass helps to lay on.
So let's take this over there. I'm gonna plug it in, see if we got light.
Sure.
Let's go.
Yep.
Alright, take it up back apart. So we're gonna claim mild victory. We just went and test fitted the cluster, powered up the EL panel, made sure it glowed from side to side, and it did. Despite our best efforts, it still works. Somehow we didn't break it. Of course, we're not done yet either, so. Now I wasn't able to get that panel set behind those little...
But that was also because that, like you said, that other thing was thicker.
Yeah, that other EL panel was thicky thick. The gauge inlays that we got from Black Cat Custom Automotive were exactly what was missing inside to recapture that 70s muscle car feel. And the LED needle backlighting really makes the gauges pop when driving at night. It made a world of difference over the stock gauge faces.
We couldn't be happier with how everything came together. Even though she's over 10 years old, she looks and drives like she's brand new. Now that's not to say we are done by any means. There are still things we want to do for more horsepower, showability, etc. But that'll be in a future episode. For now, we just want to get her on the road and enjoy the ride.